I asked Cardinal Gagnon the day after, it was the day after or 2 days after, when we were walking, the three of us, Marini, Gagnon, and myself, and still sort of hashing over the whole thing of the death of John Paul I, which came to everyone, the world, but also especially I should say, the people who live in Rome, as a particular shock. It was double shocking. And I asked Cardinal Gagnon point blank, I said, do you think he was murdered, the Pope? And Gagnon waited just a second and he said, do I think he was killed? And I said, all right, do you think he was killed? He said, well, there are many ways of killing someone. All right, that was his answer. So in other words, yes, he did. Now we get to the point of how. And this is where I disagree with a lot of people, and so did Gagnon, and so did Marini, and so did Bonelli, and so did everybody that I was going to say in my group. I was in their group. They weren't in my group. They were beyond my class, all of them, great men. The poisoning issue, the this, the that, I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. What I do believe is that he had a heart attack and he died. Now I would say, why would a relatively healthy man have a heart attack and die? And I go back to the night before he died, having an argument, a heated argument, and there voice, I leave that in the singular, was raised quite loudly during that discussion when he insisted, as a matter of fact, that Cardinal Sebastian Baggio go to his study and speak to him. Baggio had refused a couple times before, and he did go. Now, here seems to be the bone of contention, Robert.
Yes.
There are a number of people, and people told me this when I've been telling this to a few people over the years. I said, this is what happened. I finally put it down in writing, simply for the fact, and we talked about this the last time too, I am not going to live forever, and I wanted this stated. I didn't write this to have a best-selling book. I really didn't. That's wonderful. That's wonderful that it happened. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining, but I had no idea the book was going to be this successful or this powerful. I just wanted it written. I wanted it written down. Many people think that he was poisoned. Many people think this and that. And many people say, they tell me, Cardinal Baggio never had a meeting with him. Well, excuse me, we went through that the last time. That's simply false. He did have a meeting with him. There's just no question about that. I don't know how do you prove a negative? I don't know I'm telling you he did.
Okay.
That it wasn't written down in somebody's agenda. I'm sorry for that. That's too bad it wasn't. There were a lot of things that took place that weren't written down in an agenda, and particularly, Bob, a meeting that was happening at night, outside of office hours, outside of scheduling, outside of the use of a secretary getting the appointments. The Pope called Cardinal Baggio himself and invited him in.
Okay.
In fact, insisted that he be there for a meeting. So that there isn't any proof, verifiable proof that something written down in an agenda. I'm sorry, that's not my problem. That's the problem of somebody who thinks that there should be. Also, I sent you. It occurred to me years later that I remember reading that somewhere, and I researched as much as I could, and I finally found it. It was Time Magazine, and I sent you an article of Time Magazine, and Time Magazine reported that Baggio had a late night meeting with the Pope. The Pope John Paul I, retired for the evening, had a heart attack and died. They were the only ones who made mention of this. And I'll tell you something else. It was never mentioned again. Anywhere, in any press, or any television interview, nothing. Baggio's name was never mentioned again. But we knew before Time Magazine came out that he had been there. Yeah. There was no question of that. And he was there because Benelli insisted with the Pope that he have that meeting. There you have the Time magazine art. I finally found that. Can you imagine? Somebody sold me Time magazine from 1978. There it is.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we went through this the last time.
I know.
All I'm saying is this: for those who say there was no meeting with Cardinal Baggio, I'm sorry, there was.
Okay.
Now, you proved to me that there wasn't. All right. I'll throw that burden of proof on the opposition. You show me that there wasn't. All right.
Thank you for joining us today on our live stream video, or you may be watching the recording. If you would like to join us live, be sure to subscribe and to click the bell so you'll be notified when we go live. We don't have a set schedule, so we may pop up one evening at 8 o'clock or a morning at 11. Thank you again. And if you would like to submit a question, the best way to do that would be to go to InsideTheVatican.com. 30 Years, The Untold Stories. And there on that page, you will find a button to click where you can submit your question. We plan to do several live streams of just Q&A, so hopefully you can join us live for that as well. Have a great day.